What up everybody, it's iPadBeatmaking.com here today, going to help you decide whether you should get the LaunchPad X or the LaunchPad Pro Mark III. For those who intend to use Atom inside of a DAW such as AUM, which I think is probably currently the best DAW or DAW list solution to use Atom and a LaunchPad with, for a number of reasons. But these are on sale sometimes for like $160, $170. They normally go for $200. These go for a much more substantial $350, and they're rarely on sale, although maybe they'll be on sale for Black Friday. But the question is the big price jump worth opting for this instead of this? Can you get away with just using the X compared to what you get with the Pro Mark III? How's the workflow of the X? Is it intuitive? Is it pretty similar to that of the Pro Mark III? And does the Pro Mark III really add anything of significance to the workflow? Because a lot of you obviously might not care about the sequencer and some of the other hot buttons that they've got on here. You might feel like you can get away with just the X. And yeah, you could, but I think it all depends on the type of music that you're working on. And there's so many things that the Pro adds to your workflow that you just don't get with the X. And as you can see here, we've got the same grid layout with Atom. Each one of these represents what we have going on within Atom. So we can launch and you can see how it reacts on both, right? But there is a lot of difference up under here and with some of these hot buttons. Now, for me, this panel here along the left side is the biggest difference from the Pro to the Mark III in terms of everyday workflow scenarios that I can see. You can see here, we've got an instance of Atom pulled up, and I'll make this a little bit bigger. So we've got an instance of Atom pulled up. So if we hit the button, we can see that it ends up launching. All that's great. We also can hit Capture MIDI, and it'll put it into an armed record mode, and we have the Capture MIDI button here on the Pro. So you have both of these features integrated into the X and into the Pro, so no losses there. You also can arm, mute, and solo each track that you want. You can do that on both actually, but this one requires a bit of a shift key. This one does it natively right there on the front panel. You just would in this instance hit mute, and then the lights become yellow, and when you hit the mute, you mute the whole row there. So that's how you mute within the Pro. And for the X, you're going to hit the session button at the top, and then along the side you're going to have stop, clip, mute, solo, and record arm. And so we can hit mute here and the same thing happens. So that isn't the biggest deal in terms of workflow. I think for performance, it would be no problem for most people to go ahead and do that. But the differences after this point start to get much more pronounced, and it's kind of like racers starting off pretty similarly and then one really pulls out in front. And that's what you deal with when you start going from the X to the Pro. So the big deal for me with this is if I'm going to be using a piece of hardware and spending the money on it, I need it to really make my workflow much more fluid than it naturally would be. And I understand that everyone's workflow is different. Everyone's gonna have a different set of needs and priorities. For some people, this will be enough. There's nothing wrong with that being enough. However, for some of us, we like to have fluid workflows with respect to quantizing, being able to clear a pattern if we've misplayed something. Say we play something in on the piano roll and then we messed up. It's really nice to be able to just have a clear button right here, which you can see along the left side. We can also duplicate what we've just done. You can see that in the button right here. And then we've got the quantize button here. So for most people, the X could be just fine. It depends on the type of music, I think, and the type of workflow you prefer to have, how much you like interacting with the screen versus how much you like just interacting with the hardware. And so the big difference to me in terms of practical workflow is actually along this left side. So we've got the clear button here. So say we were to have some notes playing that we drew in or played in, and now you can hit clear, hold it down, and then bam, you've now cleared what you just did in the piano roll. Something like that is really cool, and it really makes the workflow much more fluid overall. Now let's say you're mixing elements of quantization and not quantizing, right? So that happens a lot in music. There might be certain leads or certain parts you don't want quantized, but you want other things pretty tight on the grid. Well, now you can hit the quantize button, and when you hit that, you've now turned quantizing off, and now you've turned it back on. Obviously, you could just as easily tap the screen, but when you're in a big session and you're just in the zone, sometimes you don't want to go through all that. Sometimes you don't want to pull up the Atom instance to actually do that. It just will automatically be done when you're going to record. Now, obviously, you've got capture MIDI on both, so you're missing nothing there. And another big deal for me, I know it's not going to be a big deal for everybody, is the dedicated play button. Being able to assign this play button and have these launch is a big deal to me in terms of workflow, because this one has no dedicated play button, and all of these side buttons here are being used for something at some point in your Atom workflow inside of AUM. So it's really not beneficial to take one of these and then assign it to a play button. So having the dedicated play button that is assignable within AUM is really cool, because now I can just have my track armed and then hit play, and now I'm able to go in and immediately record. And so in this case, I could arm my track, I'm gonna capture MIDI here, and then I go into the chord mode and then hit play. And I've changed this fixed length button into a stop button, so that immediately allows me to rewind, and then I can play it back. Oh, got to make sure I launch it, obviously. And so bam, just that simply, due to us having the stop button, play button, and the record arm button already assigned, we're able to very easily and fluidly go in, play something quick, don't need to touch the screen for much of anything, can really focus on using the hardware for the most part when we get into that zone of composition in a way that I found you just can't do with the LaunchPad X. So the play button, the quantize, and the clear, and let's say we didn't like what we recorded and we just want to clear it, we just hold clear, hit the Atom instance, and then it's cleared. Super simple, super easy, super fluid. And then we can go back in, hit the stop button, rewind the playhead, go back into the chord mode again, arm our track, hit the play button, and we're done. It's just that simple. So I really recommend, to get the most out of the workflow, to go with the LaunchPad Pro. Spend the extra money if playing in real time live is something that really matters to you. I think you'll have a better experience overall, especially with Atom, because this is the most fluid hardware software situation for iOS that I have seen yet. So it really goes back to some of the vibes you get when you have a piece of software made for a piece of hardware, etc., where it just works, plug and play. It's really fluid, it makes a lot of sense. And there are other reasons why I think the Pro is better, including the chord mode and including the extra custom pages you get, where you only get 4 custom pages with the X, and with this one you get 8 custom pages. And I will do some videos covering some of the incredible ways that you can utilize the custom pages, as well as probably providing some custom pages for you to download for your LaunchPad experience. And I'll also talk about how I route my MIDI and some of these cool workflow shortcuts I've come up with. But overall, so far, I'm thinking this is one of the best devices that you can get for iOS if you intend to use it with Atom Piano Roll. And I really recommend you do and look into it. I know there's not that much out there right now, but don't worry, we're gonna get on top of making more videos showing this great integration, making beats, showing workflows, and again, those custom pages that are really going to shine, I think, when you see how we put together some incredible workflows for using AUM, Atom, and more with LaunchPad X and LaunchPad Pro. But again, I recommend that if you can spring it, go for the Pro. The X leaves a lot to be desired. We had the X first, we put it through its paces and outgrew it pretty fast, unfortunately, for our wallet. However, the Pro really delivers on the full promise that the LaunchPad and Atom integration is supposed to be all about. So I highly recommend you do that. Now, For those considering the mini, depends on your kind of music, but again, you're not getting the velocity sensitive pads. You're also only getting 2 custom pages instead of the 4 of the X or the 8 of the Pro. And overall, I just wouldn't really recommend it. It's just not something that I would, go for. I'd really just rather use the iPad screen at that point if you're going to deal with so many limitations, because there's not much you can accomplish on the iPad screen itself. So with that being said, I hope you found this video useful. Please let me know down in the comment section what else you would like to know about the LaunchPad integration across iOS apps, specifically Atom Piano Roll 2 and different DAWs, or whatever other workflows you might have questions about. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to hit the like button. And if you aren't currently subscribed, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss out on the latest news, tips, tricks, sales, beats, reviews, updates, and more. And be sure to check out some of the best kits for iOS at iPadBeatmaking.com. It's iPadBeatmaking.com. Peace.